So I want to talk about one of the best releases of the year so far. Yeah, I know, bold statement. But Mon Rovia's debut album. This is 16 tracks of heat from this artist who is putting on display his journey from being an adopted kid from Liberia, and this is why he uh, took on the moniker Mon Rovîa. Talking about years of displacement on here, his lifelong journey to find belonging, starting over, that sort of thing. And honestly, even the rollout tells you this guy's having a real moment. He came into the release off of a sold out headlining tour in North America. He played Austin City Limits, Boston Calling, Red Rocks. He was also um, the first ever guest on the Mel Robbins podcast. NPR also called out his song Heavy Foot as one of its, like, there's this new wave of like protest songs that have been blowing up online, particularly TikTok. And, his track was one of those. You can feel how fast his audience is growing right now, primarily thanks to TikTok. I'm not particularly fond or proficient on TikTok, but he talks about in his interviews that like he sort of took on playing the ukulele on TikTok, and he found that people it resonated with people. Right, this is the simplicity of the ukulele, allowing him the space to be able to write his tell his stories right through his songs. And that the ukulele is sort of like an understated thing, but it's still so you can be. He's not proclaiming to be like the best ukulele player, but it's a conduit for him to be able to get out his message. And Bloodline really feels like someone stepping into their life story and owning it and claiming it and just discovering it and being proud of where they came from, their identity, and wanting to sort of put that confidence on the rest of us, whoever else is the music lands with, like whoever ears it lands on. On here, we're talking about memory, migration, resilience. These are the same kind of stories I relate to, being an immigrant myself. What it means to rebuild a sense of home, falling down and falling back in hard times, and having a winning season, and then things going off the rails and having to start over, that sort of thing. It actually reminded me of I recently just wrote the dedication in my novel, and in listening to artists like Mon Rovîa while I'm trying to figure out exactly what I want to say, it helps me figure this out. And so here's the dedication at the beginning of my book. If you, whenever and I don't know exactly when I'm going to get this thing published, but I'm doing these little front end elements right now, and the dedication was one of the big ones that I've sat with for a while, and this is what I kind of came up with. This book is dedicated to my past self, the younger me who had a loving mother, Macula Seren, and a no nonsense father, Job Mesadu. They called you Dadu, with affection, even when affection was hard to see. I'm writing this about a month before my 44th birthday. By now, we've lived much longer without our mother than the 16 years we had her. And it's been 16 years since Pop passed. I know, spoiler alert. But you need to hear this. Cherish them while you still can. I know you're hurting. You don't have the words to describe what you and your brothers are experiencing. But I know. But I know now it was abuse. I know now it stemmed from tradition, religion, generational trauma, and plain old ignorance. You may never hear the words, I love you, son, but they do, in their own way. They say it every day. I understand that now. And I understand you. I know the anger you carry, but your endurance, your patience will bring them along in time. And over time, we will find healing. Things will get better, then worse, then better again. And it will feel unfair to face these turns without them beside you. But remember, they prepared you for this thing called life. Mom and pops live on through you. So this dedication is to them too. Job Immacula. I I don't 100% know if I'm going to edit that any further. I feel like I said a lot in that short statement. Um, it's a dedication. It shouldn't be that long, anyways. But maybe I'll edit some of that. I don't know exactly where just yet. You gotta kind of have to like write these things and come back to them like a month or so later just to see. Maybe you're in a different headspace, different vibe, and you might think, hey, you know what? I could say this part a little bit different. But that's just my journey. And Mon Rovîa is going through this sort of the same sort of experience, reflecting on his life's journey, reflecting on his upbringing, his how he can be in a privileged place like Tennessee while there's civil war and things going on in back home in Monrovia, right? So he takes on the mantra of Monrovia to keep that constantly front of mind. A few things that stand out production wise on this joint: steady acoustic textures anchoring everything. That Afro Appalachian folk sound, he owns that. Um, Arrangements that stay open, spacious, giving every song room to breathe. The songwriting is deeply narrative, talking about identity, again, grief, migration, family, belonging. It's all woven into this connected story he's telling on Bloodline. Um, Vocally, he shows real restraint. Never oversings, keeps it calm, grounded, which is exactly why the emotional moments land so hard when they make an appearance. If you want a good place to start on this project, I would say start off with Heavyfoot. This is the one that I mentioned NPR highlighted, and they highlighted for a reason. It's a profound song. It's got 3.6 million spins. It's by far the most played track on this entire album. So that's it's a little bit more accessible for folks. Um, Whole Wide World is another track that introduces a lot of folks to Monrovia. It's expansive. It's hopeful. It's the kind that captures emotional center of the whole project. Pray the Devil, Pray the Devil Back to Hell is the second track on this thing. Uh, great joint. You spend real time on this one. This is one that you should run back. Put it on repeat. It pulls together so much of the album's DNA, history, resilience, home, all those concepts. And Pray the Devil Back to Hell. Love that joint. The vibe here is a sort of subversive defiance. It's quiet, but it's expansive. It's like there's a bigger meaning to it all. Rather whether you're there's a lot of religious undertones happening throughout the project, but he even says it himself. It's not a religious album, but he is giving space for part of what makes up his DNA, part of his personality. I say the same thing too, which is like I mean, I'm not a Christian. I identify more as a non-believer, atheist, right? And I still can't deny you know, the upbringing that I had that shapes some of my current thinking, how I identify, how I show up in the world, was sort of shaped by, in some of these there's a foundation of the Bible, right, and of Christianity that undergirds, I guess, some of the principles maybe because I'll take the good stuff. There's some good stuff in there. I'll take the good stuff and incorporate it and make it part of my life and make it part of my principles and how I show up in the world. All right, but there's other things that I may not agree with so much, or that I just it's beyond belief for me. Uh, so I just leave that, but I'll keep the good stuff. So I can never really um, deny though, right? That woven into my identity is this particular upbringing, and so so you'll hear things that'll trigger some of that, and like trigger in a good way. It's like, oh, reminding you of some of the if that's how you grew up, and it's coming from Tennessee. This is the South we're talking about. This is the Bible Belt area we're talking about, right? And so I grew up in the South too, in Florida, and I can relate to some of these same sort of predilections, some of these same sort of familiar territories when it comes to the religion or in its thoughts on your place in the world. Honestly, it's the perfect type of project to throw on um, probably in the quieter part of your day. Maybe you're going for a morning walk, or maybe you're wandering around in a farmer's market. Like you're kind of like one of the first few people there. Some people are still probably setting up their booths, and you know you're before the crowd gets there. You throw this on. You kind of wander around. You take in the different wares, the fruits and trinkets and stuff that people are selling. But you're not really paying attention yet, right? You're not really paying attention to what they got. You're letting them do their thing, but you're like letting the music move you and inspire you into finding and gravitating towards those things that are meant for you, your identity, how you want to show up in the world, and proclaiming that without apology. Mon Rovia is going through that journey himself. Uh, I, from the interviews, he's still something that he's still searching for, still trying to find. But this project, Bloodline, is a great representation of that. More than anything, every song on Bloodline feels like it's there for a reason, and it leaves room for you to own your own thoughts, have your own thoughts, layer them on top of it, and have the songs maybe mold into your own story. It leaves room for that. I can relate to a lot of the storytelling on here. This is a complete body of work, start to finish, and it's worth the whole ride.
It's challenge day.